right, enough Chelsea. How about some quick hits instead?
Let's go, Gav.
Arsenal demolish Aston Villa 4-1, ending their win streak and storming back in the second half. Jules, with City dropping points too, Mikel Arteta couldn't have hoped for a much better holiday period.
Yeah, that's very true, Gabi. If you look at the table, obviously, second place City drop points, third place Villa drop points because they lost this game. And behind that, Liverpool drop points, Chelsea drop points, United drop points, everybody drop points around Arsenal. They were the only one really of those clubs to win. KG first half was certainly quite tight first half, where Watkins probably has the best chance and really should have taken that chance, and Villa should have opened the scoring, but the second half was just a masterclass from Arsenal, helped by the fact that
Two goals in 5 minutes.
Yeah, and Villa were already without Kamara and Cash, but lost Onana at halftime. And I think at the end, when Unai Emery made the point to his board by throwing on two kids that nobody had ever heard of, it's not like, look, this is the squad I have compared to the squad of the other team that has huge depth in their bench.
I take your point. Villa ran out of gas, but equally it could have been very easy for Arsenal to be like, okay, we don't need to pile it on. We don't.
Yeah.
We can manage it at 2-0, which they didn't do.
Yeah, that's true.
And also, Arsenal playing without Declan Rice, who, all season long was, he's essential, he's blah, blah, blah.
That's very true.
Yeah, he's exceptional, but the other guys can play a little too.
Yeah. And as we said, Manchester City were held 0-0 away at Sunderland, which means they're 4 points back now.
Yeah, I don't even know if we should say it was Sunderland, because it was Sunderland without 5 players at the Africa Cup of Nations. It was Sunderland without Ballard. And just to put this in context, and I say this with the greatest of respect, again, except for maybe the last 20, 25 minutes where Sunderland, again, they ran out of gas.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
You can't play with that intensity for 90. It's a huge ask. City had the chances. Maybe you could say they deserved to score. I don't know what the XG were, but it certainly felt as if, right? And then you're playing Josko Gvardiol at center forward.
Yeah.
But I want to wind it back to the previous 60 minutes. I'm sorry, you're Manchester City, right? You have pretty much all your starters, except for Rodri, who comes on at halftime after a long stop. By the way, nice to see him play 45 minutes.
Yeah.
I expect you to have your greater quality go and have an impact against a Sunderland side that are so tired and so exhausted. And I don't think we saw that from City.
No, I agree.
It was a case of outlasting them. So
the first half was really poor. One of the poorest first halves they've had this season.
These are alarm bells. And maybe Rodri will fix everything. But I think there's more. And you can look at it on the flip side and say, hey, if they're still second in the table while playing like this, imagine when Haaland starts scoring.
Absolutely.
Imagine when he figures everything out. Johan Wissa makes his first start of the season and gets on the score sheet as Newcastle win 3-1 away to Burnley. Jules, if you want to go glass half empty, they're 13th in the table. If you want to go glass half full, they're 4 points away from the Champions League spots.
Which I think sums up well their season. I mean, you could have had it home and away form, which is obviously so extreme and contrasted. The problem is not so much the 4 points out of the Champions League, is there's so many teams ahead of them. So to overtake all of them and jump over all of them, you need a lot going your way, which right now I'm not sure they can do. So let's see. They need momentum and they need a good run of results, which they can't get. They get one win and then they don't win for 2. They get one win and then again. So unless they've got that consistency at some point, they won't get there. Crystal Palace draw 1-1 with Fulham, for whom my holiday friend, Tom Kenny, of course, scores. A really nice goal, by the way. Gab, we expect them to announce Brennan Johnson to be their player very soon. Is that enough for Oliver Glasner?
No, I don't think it is. I mean, 35 million is a significant amount of money to spend on a guy who's a gifted player. He's not too old, but he's also not really playing regularly.
That's true.
But I still think you're going to want more, because you look at where you are on the table, you look at what you've achieved so far, and you say, you know what? We can get back into the Europa League next season. Jules, we're not done. We have more quick hits.
Yes.
Liverpool are held at home by Leeds United, 0-0. Jules, the unbeaten run continues. But I wasn't impressed, were you?
No, not at all. I thought it was a really poor performance from Liverpool. Very comfortable for Leeds to get not just the draw, the clean sheet as well. I mean, Calvert-Lewin almost even stole it right at the end with a goal that was offside, and rightly so, but not by much. I don't know, for all the progress that we thought we saw, I guess we saw recently from Wirtz individually and the team collectively, this was back to what we saw before, which was not much really, all relying on Ekitike who can't do it all on his own. Gakpo coming back from injury, I guess, is maybe the little thing that you think, okay,
He's not
at
ready to
least
start. He hasn't
no,
been
but at
ready to
least it's
start.
that. At least you have that option now that you didn't have
Yeah.
probably before. But this is it. It was
But
really
you're back
poor.
to the same problem. Then you play Gakpo on the left, and then you reverts over to the right because he's not going to ditch the diamond for a while. I don't think. I mean, I
Yeah.
think that ship has sailed. I don't know.
I
He's
don't
got work to do.
Sticking with Liverpool, Gab, set piece coach Aaron Briggs has been let go. Are you surprised?
So I'm not surprised. I have to confess, I didn't know who this guy was until he was sacked. But when you see that statistic that nobody's conceded more goals in Europe's top 5 leagues off of set pieces. And bear in mind, most of the teams that concede goals on defensive set pieces are teams that are not good, concede a lot of goals in general because they're not good and they're under pressure a lot. I'm not saying it's his fault, but it's clearly the set piece defending hasn't been good. Arne Slot referenced it. And so it's easier to sack Aaron Briggs than to sack Konate or Arne Slot.
for sure.
I mean, if you want to be really cynical about it.
Yeah.
Only they know what happened if they're not executing or if it's him or whatever.
Yeah. You finished 1-1 Old Trafford between Manchester United and Wolves. Gab, not a great start of 2026 for Ruben Amorim.
No, it's the 4th time in the last 5 games at Old Trafford that they draw points. You're literally playing against a team that has lost, 19 of the previous 22,
the
heading
worst
something
team
like
ever,
that.
yeah.
And Wolves have looked better of late. Let's admit that.
True.
But come on, bro. You're at home. I
This
don't
was
care who's
embarrassing.
missing. Hey, look at who's missing for Wolves.
Yeah.
Look at the difference in who was actually out there. Yeah, there's no Bruno Fernandes and there's no Brian
Mbeumo,
Mbeumo. All of a sudden, Brian Mbeumo, it's like, oh my goodness, there's no Ryan Giggs.
Yeah.
Come on now. It was not great. It was not good at all. And the fact that he's so honest about it afterwards, it's refreshing. It's refreshing to me because I like it when people are honest and accountable.
Yeah.
But it's got to drive the fans mad.
Yeah, but it's on him too. So you can be honest. You have to take responsibility because you're not good enough.
The man with 2 first names returns to Brentford, and Tottenham get a point in a 0-0 draw. Jules, I know you love exciting football. I'm going to guess that watching this hurt your eyes.
It was painful, Gab. Not just my eyes. It hurt my heart. It hurt every part of my body. This was so bad. From a Brentford point of view, I guess even at home, you're probably the underdogs against a team like Spurs, and you take that draw. If you're Spurs, though, I mean, this is what your team is about now. It's just there's nothing with the ball. They don't create anything. They don't do anything. There's just nothing when you are in possession. And as a Spurs fan, it must be so difficult to watch. And I'm just not sure. Again, we keep repeating ourselves a bit, but I don't know what Thomas Frank is doing every day of the week. He's been here since July the 1st, and this is what we have on January the 1st. Really?
And even basic things. That at one point, Kudus seems to shoot from inside his own half for no reason whatsoever.
It's
like
terrible.
Again, you're not even talking about individual player development either.
Yeah. Sticking with Spurs, Gabby, Manuel Salomon is reportedly about to join Fiorentina on loan. Fabio Paratici, the Spurs sporting director, loves bringing his old players with him wherever he goes.
Yeah, now Paratici not official yet, but they gave a whole. It's really funny. The Fiorentina's chief executive gave a whole press conference where he says, like, "Well, now that we're getting a man who's got extensive international experience and he signed a long-term contract, blah blah blah." He never once mentioned his name, so maybe it's not Paratici. Maybe it's somebody else.
Yeah, that's
maybe
true.
it's one of Chelsea's 5 sporting directors in a shock move. But no, this Mano Solomon stuff looks like it's pretty much nailed down. He's been at Villarreal. He's had a nightmare. As good as Villarreal have been in the league, he's just not getting on the pitch. He's only started 1 game in La Liga. And I think he's only made a couple appearances off the bench in the Champions League. Fiorentina are too good a side to be where they are in the table.
Absolutely, yeah.
I expect Paratici to wheel and deal like there's no tomorrow this January, and they're going to go back up. What it means for him and from Spurs, I don't know. I would have thought Solomon would have been a player Thomas Frank likes. There's a guy in there. We remember him being good.
Of course.
So let's see how that goes. Let's talk about the big, tall Norwegian center forward who is not the only one of his species living in captivity and who does not celebrate goals by taking meditation poses. That's right. It's Jorgen Strand Larsen. He's being linked to a bunch of clubs at a £40 million price tag. Obviously, his team dead last in the table, 3 points all season. Did score 12 goals last season.
It was good last season,
Does this Is this kind of like the generic price for a mid-career guy who
Yeah, I
scored in
think
double
so.
figures once?
Yeah, no, I think so because I think he's talented. It's just not happening for him and for Wolves this season. He wanted to leave in the summer, really pushed for a move to Spurs. They didn't allow him to leave. They gave him a new improved contract, but they also knew that he would leave either in January or in the summer. So if it's not this month, it will be in June or July or August. There's no doubt. He did quite well at Celta Vigo, so I think there's clubs in Spain who are looking at him. There's clubs in England looking at him. I think he's got all the game to be very good in the Premier League too. For another club, whether he's your starter or your second choice striker. So yeah, that's inevitable. And also I think Wolves are already preparing for next season where they can't keep a guy like him in the Championship. It would make no sense financially. He would not want to be there. So they will sell their highest valued players, and he's probably the highest one of all of them. So why not selling him now?
So he's gonna. So the Spurs stuff that was like a legitimate.
Yeah,
Link.
yeah. He agreed terms with Spurs.
So wait. So you have Dominic Solanke,
Mhm.
who you don't know. You didn't know he was going to be injured at the time.
I think
right?
he was injured already, but not for that long. We didn't know it was for that long.
You have spent a ton of money on Matisse Tell.
Yeah.
And then you said, "Oh, and you still have Richarlison, who might
Yep.
be one of your better players this year." And you say, "Oh, well, I need another 40 million to get this guy in." I mean, what?
Yeah, because I think they
yeah,
there's
seriously, like,
potential in him. He's a very Thomas Frank kind of player, though. Really, when you think
Well,
about
he's
it.
Scandinavian and he runs into people. And,
Yeah, it's like an Ivan Toney type, really. So I think they really liked him more than Colomwani, who was there, who then arrived after the Strand Larsen deal didn't happen.
Colomwani to play center forward, but then he doesn't play center forward because once he arrives, they realize, hey, look, maybe you're not really suited to this.
Yeah, not here, not in the Premier League. Sticking with striker, Tati Castellanos' deal to join West Ham from Lazio is about done, Gab, and he's not the only one on his way to the Claret.
So if these numbers are right, I just don't understand this. The number quoted is 25 million.
Wow, that's
Tati
a lot of
Castellanos
money.
has, you know how many goals he scored this season?
I would say 4.
No, he has scored 2 goals more
Oh.
than you have. And you don't
Okay.
even play for Lazio.
Not yet.
And for what? He's going to be better than Callum Wilson? Supposedly, they're also getting this other guy, Pablo, from Gil Vicente, who I have to say, I knew Gil Vicente were doing well.
Yes.
I do not have the bandwidth to watch Gil Vicente. They're actually 4th or 5th in the table.
5th, yeah.
Pablo's 22 years old. He scored 10 goals in 13 games this season. Do you want any prize to guess that maybe he might share a manager with, he might share an agent with
Absolutely.
the manager of West Ham?
Yes.
Obviously. I don't get it. Now you just accumulate more and more center forwards?
I don't know. I guess Fulkrug is on his way to Milan, as we know, on loan. So is Callum Wilson or Jared Bowen that you play as a first number. You don't really want him there. So, yeah.
But Tati Castellanos?
But he can play as a second striker. And don't forget, they're going to lose Paqueta at some point. So...
Well, Tati Castellanos is the heir to
No, but you know what I mean? I think you also need body. For me, Pablo makes a little bit more sense because he's young. It's a bit risky because he's untested outside of Portugal, obviously, and this could very be like a one-season wonder. But at least there's room there for improvement. Castellanos, and it's not like if Castellanos had been playing for Lazio for 10 years and doing really well, apart from just this season, So let's see. It sounds very much like for Castellanos, like very much a West Ham move.
Yeah.
That we've seen so many times in the past. Pascal Gross is reportedly about to return to Brighton. Gab, does that make sense to you?
It totally makes sense. It makes sense because Brighton, for all their emphasis on youth and blah, 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 they have a legacy of having old-timers around, whether it's Adam Lallana, James Milner. Danny Welbeck is also really old.
Yeah.
I have a friend who doesn't really follow football who said, "Oh, I saw Welbeck score. Is he the son of the Welbeck who played for..." No.
That's still
it's
him.
still the same guy.
Still the same guy.
And the great thing about Pascal Gross is that you don't lose your technique when you get older. Yes,
No,
he's
he's slower even than before.
slower than before, can't run around as much, but I think he strikes the ball almost as well as anybody. In a Premier League with this season where everybody's talking about so many set pieces, you need a guy who can deliver the set pieces. I don't think there's many players who do a better job than him. And he's one of the good guys. So, yeah, I'm happy to have him back.